Alright, what is going on YouTube? Cobra versus Edward Longshanks, the two best names, I believe, in Hidden Cup 4. In the first round, we're going to have Cobra playing with Mudflow and Bay as their home maps, bans Bypass, Edward Longshanks picking islands and high tides for himself. Civilizations look as follows. Italians, Vikings are the global bans, Chinese and Aztecs are the snipes. Cobra will be left with Mayans, Lithuanians, Mongols, Khmer, Huns, Malay. Other side, Edward Longshanks is an early Portuguese pick, accompanied by Franks, Japanese, Koreans, Malians, and the Byzantines. Byzantines is an interesting one to take a look at. Do we have Bay? Yes, we do. And I can actually tell you, I have a very, very big suspicion on Edward Longshanks right now. And the reason why is because yesterday evening I was browsing through the practice games of the players that they have played on their public accounts. Many of them have not, many of those weren't actually spectatable. But those that are spectatable are accessible in public databases, and there is one specific player that did Byzantines versus Mongols in a practice game on Bay, and that was Winchester. So that doesn't necessarily mean that he's the only player doing that. In fact, I think Byzantines on the current version of Bay is absolutely legitimate in general, but I just want to point out that Winchester was one of the players that actually did such a thing. With that, we will actually jump into the first game. There is going to be a drop in this game, so Robo warned us that the recorded game contains a drop, which means that at some point the game is going to stop and we'll have to jump into the second part. Don't worry about that, as we will get in here for the first game. Welcome to round of 16s of Hidden Cup 4. Edward Longshanks on the south as a traditional Frankish pick in red. To the north, it is going to be Cobra playing as Mayans in blue. I really wonder who got the Cobra name. There were some conspiracy theories before the tournament that Cobra would be a fitting name for Viper, but you never know. I feel like if I was Robo, I wouldn't give it to Viper just because people were like, okay, Cobra would be a so-so good name for Viper. Still, we're gonna have Cobra pushing into the air immediately. In case you don't know what Cobra is, it's actually a cheat unit inside Age of Empires 2. It's basically a card that is firing with double machine guns. Yeah, it is quite strong overall. Obviously, it's not something that you can actually access in the game unless you use cheats. On the other side, Edward Longshanks, I believe, is from the William Wallace campaign, but I'm not 100% sure about that one. It is a very, very cool name, though, so I really like that selection. Overall, my two favorite names in the entire tournament are actually playing over here. So, we're just gonna have Eddie on the south with Franks. Probably no surprise that we are going to see a scouts play from him, as the Voyager was derping out for a moment. Deer will be pushed in from both players, so both players are big Deer pushers. Although it seems like Cobra only went for one Deer push, and now he's actually looking for the opponent at a weird position. He seems like he's sneaking that Eagle all the way across the map to the side, so he doesn't actually get intercepted by the opponent's scout. I wonder if this is a lame attempt or not. Or maybe he's just thinking that the opponent spawns here, which is somewhat unlikely, let's say. Here comes the first boar, and that was interesting for a moment. Edward Longshanks actually sent out two Voyagers to lure in two boars at the same time, then he changed his mind with this will. We will have... This is an interesting thing. D90 had a video about how players garrison their TCs to weaken boars. And he said that the only player that actually garrisons 4 Voyagers to weaken a boar is Hera. So maybe Eddie Boy here is Hera, or at least that move is very, very Hera-like. With that, we're gonna have 4 on wood, no surprise about that from our Cobra player. Let's talk about the player's maps for a moment though. Stone at the back is nice for our Cobra, but the gold on the front is not so great. The berries aren't amazing me. It's pretty hard in general to wall this base off, so this is actually a kind of disappointing map, I would say, for a Mayan player, with what is a Premier Drush. And one player that absolutely loves his Premier Drushes is Bars. it's not something that is exclusively done by him, but something that he loves to do, and that's always something to pay attention for. Other side, we're gonna have more Vultures getting sent into the TC though. So it's definitely a player that lures with the TC. Most of the players do that, but there's a couple of them that do not. So you can already cross out a couple of names based on that. Where's the second board though? Oh boy, Cobra Car, what is happening? What is happening for Cobra Car here? He actually forgot to lure in the second boar. Because, did he even find it? Wait a he sees his boar. Why is he not luring it in? I mean, yeah, the Red Scout is around, but he kind of feels like he might have forgotten about that boar over there. Here comes an early loom here for Edward Longshanks, although it's not really super early, it's already 20 pop. This pre-meal rush also was, in reality, a little late, so technically it was a pre-meal rush, but the timing of that is more like a standard rush timing. And finally, Cobra Car is gonna bring in that boar. To me, this start isn't actually a start that I would expect from a top 10 player, so this could be a bit of a clue for us that this Dark Age was not necessarily super clean from Cobra Car. He also is not garrisoning the TC to lure the boar. I have some bars vibes about this one right now. Nice quick pause over there from Edward Longshanks, as he's going to make sure that those militias don't run past his TC. Some very, very tiny walls he's operating with. So he's not really a big waller like MBL or so. It's more like going for the safe walls. It's going to be safe as long as there is no archers coming from Cobra Car. Because when archers are coming, this gold mine can be denied, so can this one be. So that could be a little bit problematic. The third militia is a little bit late. Coming in over here as on the north. We're gonna have Cobra Car coming in with some big walls. I think these are the reasonable walls. Like, this wall is nice, this wall is nice. You could have actually made this wall 2 tiles more to the front, so that it actually protects more of your wood line, but it's not really a big deal. This gold mine is also alright, will be walled off over here. You could have used this gold mine as part of your wall though, because you don't really need to wall that one completely inside. This gold mine, the stone at the back is nice. And honestly, it might just be about the fact that Cobra Car will be using this gold at the back and later on add the TC on this gold. Still, this is a pretty bad gold mine for him overall. Militias from Cobra Car, getting into the base of the opponent over here. Edward Longshanks was able to kill one of the militias. You see that's a dead body, by the way. Not sure how well visible that is, but that's the club of the militia. Eddie actually managed to pick off one of those militias using the TC, and now we're gonna have Edward jumping on the militias, looking like it is going to be a cleanup without losing a single vulture. In fact, those militias will just be finished off over there, including the Eagle. The Eagle is what is the most problematic part, I believe, here for Cobra Car, and I feel like unit control isn't necessarily there for Cobra Car right now. You could see that his militias weren't really controlled, but maybe he already has given up on them or so, but he could have tried running away with the Eagle a little earlier. He was probably too busy walling off his base. And I feel like, as I said, the speed of our blue player isn't necessarily reminiscent of a top 10 player's gameplay speed. It could just be a player that hasn't warmed up properly, or could be someone who's very rusty. But so far, I would actually estimate Cobra Car to be a player that's outside of the top 10. With that, I like the decision to go for full walls, because even if you have the TC protecting your eco, the scouts can just run past the TC and they will actually find a couple of vultures to intercept you. You can actually take this fight and take down that one scout. Nice decision there from Cobra Car. And he will be able to go back into his own base and will actually delete the wall before, so that he's actually able to get in here before the gate goes up. But now the scout's play isn't going to work out for Edward Longshanks, and at this point for Eddie, he can either add skirmishers if he's afraid of his opponent pushing him, or he can already think about going into Castle Age here. He's got 18 on food with Franks. Out of that, only 8 on farms. Quite a lot of them still on sheep. But eventually you see that he's already adding villagers on gold. He's probably going to play 12-13 farmers here. And behind this one, we have a Rush FC, by the way, from Cobra Car. He's actually going with Market Blacksmith, though, which means that this probably is a Plumed Archer build, if you ask me. Like, Market Blacksmith up doesn't really make a lot of sense if you go for crossbows, because you will need a barracks. Well, you already have the barracks, but you also need a range to make any crossbows. He is indeed selling a bit of a wood to go up, and it's actually pretty clean Ro16 here from our Cobra Car player. One of the other reasons why Edward Longshanks should just focus on Castle Age is because his opponent is going for Ro16, and you see that the Frankie Chico bonus from the berries actually helps quite a bit for Eddie. Eddie already has the double bit axe and horse collar. Horse collar obviously comes free for Franks, but double bit axe is still there for him. And honestly, this is an impressive fuel age from Eddie. Look at this. 800 food almost, and he's gonna be 30 seconds behind compared to the opponent going into Castle Age. Edward Longshanks has an insane eco. I feel like he's a big fish. The first person that came into my mind here was Hera, as I said, from the luring that he has done. And I can see Hera also being a confident player enough to say that, okay, I'm actually able to play this one open, knowing that my opponent isn't going to push me. And what even are we? Pike and Siege? Interesting decision from Cobra Car. Not something that's an awful idea, to be honest. Pike and Siege could be pretty devastating against Franks over here. Especially considering that the basis I set for Edward Longshanks is everything but safe. He doesn't really have a good stone mine to work with. Like, this is the only one that he could access. There's a second stable coming in. I like this idea from Cobra Car. It's not something that's very, very conventional, Ro16 into Pike and Siege. We'll have a couple of egos mixed in as well, but egos are currently just added for the sake of being able to kill a couple of villagers before these walls actually go up. I would have loved if there is 2 4 villagers from Cobra Car for the sake of going for a push. And this is also an interesting decision, double TCs and forward siege. So it's a semi-aggressive play. It's gonna be Monk and Siege now, but we open with Monks apparently. Makes some sense because your opponent is probably gonna start opening with Knights, and the idea is that you want to kill those early Knights or convert them as fast as possible. You can wait with the Siege a little bit. And as I said, we don't have safe stone for our red player, so defensive cast isn't really an option. By the way, even if these walls were finished, there is a hole over here for Eddie. So Eddie's going to play open for quite a while. The Ego here is gonna get trapped. These are walls that, once again, Hera would make. I'm having some Hera vibes so far for Edward. Now, if Cobra Car was actually Aztecs, he would just go for Redemption and even convert the stables. That's not something that he can do right now, though. So the only Meso Civ that doesn't have Redemption is Mayans. So these monks will have to go for the conversions first. Pikeman upgrade coming in. I would love to see a consistent stream of Pikemen here, but what I really like about Cobra Car's build is that this is not an all-in Pike and Sage push. Oftentimes the Pike and Siege push is 1 TC, and if it doesn't succeed, you're just gonna get outboomed. But reality here, as Pikemen will come in just in time, that's actually a great fight for Cobra Car, although once again unit control is amazing for Edward Longshanks. Picks off the Monk, runs away from the Pikeman, and you see that Cobra Car has to vote that Voyager in. A battering ram coming in makes sense because you want to take that stable down as fast as possible. Here come the Knights. The Knights won't be able to do damage to the eco of Cobra Car, so they will have to work towards relieving the pressure here. There's already a Siege Workshop to react, but it's a Scorpion and a Mangonel, and the Scorpion won't do much against the Ram. So you will need a Mangonel here. Once you have a Mangonel, you're absolutely fine here for Eddie, because he's gonna be able to take that Ram down, or he could actually dive in on the Ram with the Knights and support with the Scorpions. That could be an idea as well. You can just push this. So we will have a second TC coming in here for Edward Longshanks as well, but Cobra Car has a nice and comfy 5 villagers lead that shouldn't be underestimated. The eco upgrades aren't great, so it's only double bit axe and horse collar, whereas the opponent already has bow, so heavy blow. But you have to consider the fact that, as I said, it's not sort of an all-in push from Cobra Car by any means. He's actually having a 2 TC play behind this one, and 2 TCs with Mayans is fairly legitimate because their army doesn't cost a lot, especially their archer play. So really, Mayans with longer lasting resources, they're able to stack up quite a decent amount of resources over time. 1-for-1 Mangonel trade over there. I'm not sure if this was deleted or just killed, doesn't really matter, because the death of this Mangonel meant that this is going to die. If Edward Longshanks misses this shot, and doesn't kill this Mangonel, his own Mangonel wouldn't have died anyways. But with no Mangonel support, suddenly the stable does go down, and boom goes one of the stables. Now the Knights will actually jump out. There will be one conversion here, and honestly, this is actually a legitimate fight for Cobra Car. Like, Edward Longshanks took an okay engagement here, but you shouldn't underestimate the fact that he's throwing away some very, very expensive Knights over here, and at the end of the day, it looks like Eddie is going to clean this one up, and there apparently is going to be the Voyagers going down as well. But behind this one, Cobra Car is on 2 TCs, making TC number 3 on the stone, so Plumed Archers will be a thing. Cobra Vietnamese maybe? Hard to say from this much, I don't think so. The thing that Cobra Car needs to be careful about right now is that Edward Longshanks is on stone. And it's already 240 stone, and Eddie right now has the military lead. When Eddie has the military lead, that's going to mean that he can just push his opponent back to his base and then drop a castle on this primary gold. And a castle drop over here would deny this woodland and this gold, potentially even take away that stone. So that's something that Cobra Car has to be really careful about, and I feel like Cobra Car is gonna need stone like ASAP, because he needs his own defensive castle. He's right now on 3 TCs, but only has a 3 Villagers lead. At the end of the day, had a lot more TC idle time than his opponent did, 427 compared to 130. Monks once again popping out, but there is just not enough pikeman numbers here. Cobra Car is trying, but reality is that the defense is very, very nice over here from Edward Longshanks. So he will take down these buildings. He's not in a rush. He's even using a monk to heat up his weak knights. And considering the 30 TCs coming in for Edward Longshanks, I feel like the advantage for Cobra Car will be gone. So Ford Voyager, or well, not really Ford Voyager, but well, whoever had this, you can actually classify this as a Ford Voyager, as she's gonna get walled in here once again. The quick walls were actually pretty nice as well, but at the end the lady is gonna get poked down. So with that, we are gonna have the Knights now coming out, and as I said, that stone count for Edward Longshanks and the fact that he's got 10 on stone makes me really wonder if that's gonna be a castle. He might not be able to drop a forward castle because his opponent has a lot of pikemen, so the alternative for Edward Longshanks is to send Villagers to drop a castle here. This is a beautiful hill to drop a castle at, and you start making throwing X-Men. One of the reasons why Franks are so dangerous as an Arabian civilization is because, unlike other cavalry civs, Franks have a very, very easy tech switch into anti-pikeman units. As I'm saying that, that unit control was a disaster from Edward Longshanks, just ran into a bunch of pikemen. Still, either this hill or this hill is gonna be the name of the game, and for Edward, he's keeping 5 on stone, which means that that's a bad castle spot. Why are you making that castle over there, man? That's a very bad castle spot. Can't you? Maybe he can't fit it on this hill, I'm not 100% sure. But it's definitely an awkward castle spot at minimum when this could be on the top of this hill. It's still on the hill, but this would have been much, much nicer on this hill. Well, that's for the siege crop isn't going up here, my friend. There is no way it does. So here's the deal. Now it's a castle up and throwing axemen coming in immediately. And if you're Edward Longshanks, you actually send these vultures back to stone. Use the throwing axemen to secure some ground for you, and the second castle comes up here in the face of the opponent. That being said, Cobra Car is actually getting close to dropping a castle himself. He needs a castle. Like, ideally this would be the spot where the monastery is at right now to protect the gold and the front of his base. And then, considering that Cobra Car isn't going for a very, very food-heavy build, like he went for pikemen, but he hasn't really been making a lot of those now, I feel like he could definitely think about going into Imperial faster than his opponent. His opponent invested a lot of food into knights, throwing axemen, so in terms of excess food, Cobra Car should have the upper hand. And if he has a castle here, he can actually start making trebs, maybe switch back into Arbalest, or just go Halberdier, and then add Plumed Archers later on. Stone Shaft Mining, well, it's just Stone Mining simply, but Stone Shaft Mining could be a possibility as well. For now, it's Stone Mining and indeed 9 on stone, so we're gonna have a castle for Cobra Car. He needs to make sure he doesn't lose that gold mine. He's sitting on 1 relics right now. Goes for the second one over here, and we're gonna have the pikemen just poking down the outpost over here. Other side, it seems very, very peaceful. Edward Longshanks isn't really bothering Walling himself. He's booming on 40Cs, by the way. This is the drop that they were talking about. And this is interesting. Because I would have thought it's Hera, but that English isn't really fitting Hera. But you have to consider that this might just be Hera trying to impersonate. It is very possible that he's just faking that English. So it's like very lagging here. Could be a player. Could be a player that's trying to fake his identity. So I did mention that there is going to be a save and restore here. So that is exactly the case. We'll jump into the second part in a moment. So we will continue on from this point. So it looks like the restore was actually made in the middle of a fight over here, interestingly. Pikemen poking down all these scorpions, and it looks like Longshanks will actually engage this one. Not sure if that's the right idea, to be honest, for him, because it looks like most of his knights are going down. Look at the resources for the Mayans. This is why Mayans are crazy on Arabia, man. The amount of excess food that they can have is amazing. One of the things that makes Mayans a super strong civilization. So we'll have an interesting castle position here. It's a safe castle for plumed archer production and will protect this side of your base. But are you actually willing to risk losing this gold mine here? I feel like I don't agree with that castle spot. If a second castle comes up here, I'm totally fine with it, and there is still 15 on stone for Cobra Car, so it's very, very possible. But I feel like this castle is great for plumed archer production, all for to defend this gold mine. Right now, he doesn't need to defend that gold mine a lot, though. Speaking of which, somehow these knights actually got inside. How did they get in? There is an overchop here, but I didn't see them running in. So a couple of villagers will be killed, but at the end of the day, look at this. Only one villager killed so far. After the restore, we don't really know before the restore, because obviously Capture Age restarts these counters, so these are not actually relevant for the entire game, just for the session. We have a big relic yoink over here from Edward Longshanks coming in. And now, did I mention that the gold mine is dangerously exposed? I think I did. I think I did mention that this castle should have been over here in my perspective. Because that gold mine is very, very exposed, and this is a move that could lose the game for Cobra Car, because now throwing Axemen are coming in here for Edward Longshanks. And if you look at the resources, he's starving for gold, and now Edward Longshanks is going to be on the way to Imperial a little faster. We'll get Trebs out. I feel like Longshanks now has a big lead, mainly because he's controlling the opponent's gold here. Very, very little gold income for Cobra Car. He's trying to get enough stone for a castle with 19 on stone. So technically it is still possible that he might be able to pop out. Now that he's having the plumed archers here, he actually picked off the throwing axeman, and the pikeman was able to more or less finish off the knights over here. Some mangonels died, but I feel like this is a fight that Cobra Car had to take here. Here's the castle. He actually has stone for the third castle here, but I feel like the problem that he's facing is that his imp is gonna be delayed by this one. His opponent already clicked up to Imperial, but I think it's just queued up somewhere behind a villager or so. No, he didn't click up to imp. Interesting. I thought Eddie already clicked up. This actually buys a lot of time for Cobra Car, because Eddie could have clicked up by now. Now he's going to click up rather easily. So still he's gonna have like at least a minute or so advantage into Imperial, mainly because the gold count for Cobra Car is just very, very disappointing. Right now he's got 32 on gold. Trying to go for this gold mine, but obviously he's gonna need to delete the house or something like that for that, because this gold mine is just super, super overcrowded. Same for this one. Pikemen now coming in to clean up these knights. And I feel like it would have been better to just rush this castle up as fast as possible and then send 20 villagers on this gold mine. Imperial Age times will actually be just 30 seconds different for the two players. And we had an interesting castle drop attempt here from Cobra Car. I would borderline call that ambitious, considering that that was a full disaster. Oh man, that was overly ambitious to drop a castle over there. Oh man, I don't even know how he was thinking about that. I mean, it's a good castle spot, but you don't have any map control. You can't just assume that you can sneak a castle up there. That was a very, very interesting and at the same time questionable decision. Now, Plumed Archers could be troublesome for, like, Halberdier Plumed Archer could be troublesome for Edward Longshanks to deal with, but I feel like it's going to take quite a lot of time until Plumed Archers come in. And also, you have to make trebs if you're Cobra Car. I don't know how this Voyager gets in here in the middle of the fight, probably a misclick from Cobra Car, and we might have Edward Longshanks eventually converting that will, so that would result in one extra will for Eddie, using every bit of advantage that he can get. Mangano lands a big hit on those plumes, and that's the second castle coming in for Edward Longshanks. He's gonna have a slight lead into Imperial, so he can actually start making trebs immediately on those castles. I think he's prepared for that. Looking at those resources, that's probably gonna be Cavalier. Second castle comes in on the same hill here for Cobra Car though, so he knows that this is an important position. He needs to keep his castles up. Plumed Archers can still turn the game around, to be honest, but you shouldn't underestimate the fact that these will be Cavalier with +4 defense very, very soon. There could be Halberdiers out for Cobra Car. He's got +1/+1 only on those pikemen though, so those Halberdiers wouldn't really be amazing by any means, and no surprise, we're gonna have trebs coming out immediately from Edward Longshanks. And that's the problem with Plumed Archers here. You have to have the castles producing trebs. For you, treb coming out from... I think you need to use all 3 of these castles to produce trebs. Halberdier on the way as well. There were a couple of Plumed Archers sneaking to the left, and they could find a couple of Voyagers here. They do not have Ballistics or Tumbling though, neither do they have Bracers. So these Plumed Archers are kind of currently. So I think the name of the game right now for Edward Longshanks is Halberdier Treb and Treb down the castles, because if you treb down the castles, your opponent won't be able to get Throwing Axemen. They can still go Hand Cannoneer, but that takes some time to tech into, and that's exactly what you're playing for right now. So you need traps from all of these castles. There's the first trap coming out here, but that's dangerously mispositioned, and Edward Longshanks could send... Oh, that's a disaster. That's a disaster for Cobra Car. That's a massively mispositioned trap, and I feel like I'm surprised that Edward Longshanks isn't taking it down, because he could just send in free Cavalier and take it down. That's very, very badly misplayed, I believe, by Cobra Car. How is he leaving that trap exposed like that? Oh my goodness, that's a disaster. And needless to say is the fact that the winner of this trap fight wins the game, pretty much, because without castles, there's gonna be no Plumed Archers, and without Plumed Archers, there's just going to be no answer to the Throwing Axemen from the mine side, or at least not an easy answer. The first castle does go down, and even Paladin is coming in here for a red player. The Plumed Archers are causing some chaos here, that's true. In fact, Cobra Car is killing quite a lot of Voyagers beneath the TCs, but the TC will still clean this one up, and at the end of the day, it's still 145 Voyagers for Edward Longshanks. Dives in with what is just Cavalier right now. Might actually lose one castle here, so it could be 1-for-1 castle trade, but the mobility advantage is on the side of our Frankish player, and it's a 3,000 score lead. Nice final second defense. You already have forward stables coming in here for Edward Longshanks with scouts for him, and I feel like now there is just soon to be Paladin running around in the eco of Cobra Car, and it looks like Cobra Car. Like, look at this. There is a random Throwing Axeman in here killing Voyagers on the gold mine. There is Cavalier hitting the farming eco. Cavalier hitting the wood eco. There's nowhere to go for Cobra Car. Edward Longshanks is everywhere, and he's also trapping down these castles like crazy. This is like this game is over. Cobra Car is just getting absolutely raided to death here, and even if he's not getting raided, look at how much he's getting devastated over here by the trebs. His opponent is even taking the stone away here. Now it's Paladin. I mean, it's Paladin with +4/+4, and Edward Longshanks is playing this one really well, I have to say, so I'm tempted to say that Eddie is a big fish. I'm not sure who. Has some Hera vibes, I believe. Could even be Viper, because it wouldn't be far away from Viper trying to impersonate other players with that gimmicky English. So that could also be someone to think about. For now, my money is on Hera, but it's a very, very... Like, it's just basically a small guess right now. There is no Light Kevin for Edward Longshanks right now, but it's not like it matters, to be honest. He still has all the neutral gold in the map, so this is an almost complete gold mine. This one also has a lot of gold on it, and Edward Longshanks winning game number 1 over here fairly convincingly. Eddie takes over in game number 1. He was floating a lot of resources as well, so this could have been even more decisive if he actually used up those resources. He had a sort of a little overboom over here, to be honest. 160 villagers overall. For Paladin play, 160 isn't really a bad villager count. I'm just saying that now he's having a bit of an overboom. Like deleting 10-15 villagers could have been a possibility so that he can actually fit in some more Paladins or throwing Axemen. But yeah, it was a crazy overboom from him. Still, nice win from Eddie over here, and that means that he is going to take game number 1. And that means that we're going to the first home map of Cobra Car, which is either Bay or Mudflow. So Mayans are gone for Cobra Car, Franks are gone for Edward Longshanks. If it's Mudflow, it's probably Khmer versus Koreans, I believe. We have already seen one player actually playing with Koreans, if you remember that from yesterday. These series always contain some mild spoilers regarding civilization selections whatsoever. If we see another Korean play on a map like Mudflow, that could relate to practice partners or potentially teammates over here. I think that from Cobra Car, the reasonable safe here is Khmer for Mudflow. The other side, I would have said Franks by default, and maybe that was the idea. Maybe he wanted to play Franks on Mudflow and wanted to use Aztecs on Arabia, but since Aztecs was sniped, he had to go for Franks on Arabia. So it could be Koreans. Anything else doesn't really make a lot of sense. I mean, islands will be Portuguese, that's guaranteed. High tides will be Japanese, which means that Bay will be down to Malians or Byzantines, and that's gonna be Byzantines. So really, Mudflow can be Malians or Koreans, but it's more likely to be Koreans. Other side, Bay is gonna be Lithuanians or Mongols. Hard to say. Malay could be a civilization for high tides. No, Malay has to be the civ for islands. Unless this guy actually wants to land. Huns will probably be the civ pick for high tides. Khmer will be for this one, and then Lithuanians or Mongols for Bay. And I assume that the reason why you picked two picks for Bay is because Lithuanians were sniped so frequently that maybe Cobra Car thought that Lithuanians or Mongols will be sniped away from him, so he went for 2 civs for Bay. But that's his first home map. Actually, his second home map, but doesn't really matter. So one of his home maps, I feel like he wanted to make sure he has the 2 top civilizations for that one. That's probably going to be up against Byzantines. With that, we are gonna have game number 2 coming in here in a matter of moments. I believe we're waiting for Robo to drop the recorded game. So the 16 players that we can select from the players' identities will be Daut, MBL, Dogaoyo, Hera, Taro, Leary Viper, Jordan Vivi, Bars Winchester, Back TVLS, ACCM Nikov. So far, to be honest, in this first round, I have a bit of a tough time identifying the players. So I remember that I had this issue last year as well, that in the first round I felt like I need to see more games from the players to be 100% sure. I can see some clues, but none of them are really decisive. So with that, we're actually gonna have the game coming up. So game number 2 between Edward Longshanks and Cobra Car. Over here, we are gonna have game. Hello. I assume we're gonna have the game in a moment. So we're just waiting so that all streamers are synchronized, basically. That's the reason why we don't have the game yet. So with that, as I said, Edward Longshanks versus a Cobra Car over here. So far, I feel like Edward Longshanks is one tier above his opponent, although we will see. because Cobra Car had some nice moments in this one. It just feels like he made some bad decisions, and that pretty much snowballed the game out of control. That being said, he had his moments, as I said, and we will see what he can do on his own home maps, Bay or Mudflow. He also banned Bypass, but I don't think that tells us a lot. Edward actually banned Hideout, so the two maps with the forest in the middle were basically banned. And as I said, we will get game number 2 in a moment. As far as I know, there is no drop in that. So let's take a look. There is 2 more sets today. Obviously, I will be casting all of those as well. So everything will also be uploaded to YouTube. Yesterday's sets have already been uploaded. So in case you missed any of those, I recommend watching them as well, because we had some very, very cool sets over there. All 4 sets from yesterday have been uploaded. And today, we will also upload all 4 sets that I finish. Tomorrow, on Saturday, we also have 4 sets. Those are going to be the quarterfinals. And on Sunday, we will have 3 sets. It is 2 best-of-7 semifinals and then a best-of-7 grand finals. The semifinals will be casted from recorded games, and the grand finals will be played live, and after that, the identities of the players will be revealed. So here is the next game. Edward Longshanks versus Cobra Car. We will jump inside over here, and we will get going with game number 2. So welcome back. It is going to be Mudflow for our players here, and we have an interesting Civ selection for Edward Longshanks. A super interesting Civ selection. Portuguese. Now, this is not something I expected. Like, taking a quick look at the civilizations that were available for him, I mean, Koreans will be the water civ then, or maybe Byzantines, but that's already an awkward situation. And this was a very, very early Portuguese pick, so I really wonder what's the motivation of picking Portuguese here. And the thing is that I don't really know a lot of players that would pick Portuguese on general maps that's not islands. There is one, however, I do know, and that's Viper. Viper loves his Portuguese on all of the maps, and it's not necessarily an impossible idea to use it over here. The ships are stronger, you have a cheaper gold cost on your units, you have a decent archer play, so it makes some sense. But I'm not necessarily a big fan of Portuguese on this one, as it looks like we're gonna have a Cobra Car coming in here with a lame attempt. Lames one water buffalo, but leaves that Rhino alone. So it seems like he's just going for the water buffaloes right now, scouting the opponent's DC. The other side is the standard Khmer pick over here. The reason why I pick Khmer is because you can't make farms close to your TC. We have an early Borler coming in here as well from Cobra Car. For a moment it looked very, very scary, and that's going to be an awful spot to kill that boar at. So this was actually a pretty dangerous slash potato Borler, if you ask me. There's also an Idle Voyager over here. I am starting to feel like either our blue player is a very, very rusty player, or he is not necessarily a top 10 player, because there is some sloppiness with these moves, as you see over here. He lured in his first boar already. Same thing occurred for Edward Longshanks, so both players prioritizing the boars quite early on. We'll have 4 on wood for Edward Longshanks. This could still be a hybrid map build from him, instead of just going for straight archers, let's say. It looks like Cobra Car was able to collect some extra water buffaloes over here from the opponent. You see that Edward Longshanks is down to 2 water buffaloes, and now there is a lame attempt coming in here as well from Cobra Car. It was a delayed lame, but Red Scout is actually pretty far away from catching this one. So this could be a lot of extra food for Cobra Car over here, because he managed to steal 2 water buffaloes, and oh, the boar de-aggros. That's a disaster for Cobra Car. He tried laming, but it didn't really work out, and he is gonna end up losing a lot of HP on that scout. As once again we have 4 Voyagers jumping into the TC. That is very, very, very harassed. It would be interesting to see Hera using Portuguese on this map, but I'm sort of limiting my options to Hera and Viper currently for Cobra Car or for Edward Longshanks, whereas for Cobra Car I'm having more and more bar swipes. How many extra War Buffaloes did he get? I think he got 2 more. I'm not 100% sure about that, but he's sitting on 5. I think both players spawned with 8, and there was 2 left here for Edward Longshanks. I think Cobra Car has eaten 1. Actually, he didn't eat 1 at all. I think he got 2 or so. Anyways, we will have 4 on wood for now for Cobra Car, and we will have Edward Longshanks walling himself off. I have seen some walling like that, remember the previous series, and now I remember 3 players that actually did walling like this. And guess what? The only team that has 3 players, or at least 3 players, in the main event is Gamer Legion. And I'm starting to feel more and more Viper-like for this player. The Portuguese selection on this map, which is somewhat unconventional, and most of the people would have probably just gone for Portuguese on islands. The clean execution, the fact that he's actually going for these walls, and 2 other players doing this could very well be Doubt and Tato. And Jordan is even in the party, but we haven't seen all sets, so we're gonna have to go back for those. It looks like we're gonna have 4 Dodgers coming in here for Cobra Car for what is probably gonna be a sneaky tower behind this wood line. We'll see if Eddie is able to react to that one. Field ages will be fairly comparable. It's 19 pop for Edward Longshanks, 18 pop for Cobra Car, but he's only 16 seconds ahead, so that's a little bit surprising over here. Did he go for no loom? Oh, he went for loom. It's a very aggressive play coming in here from Cobra Car, and oftentimes the player that's playing super aggressive is an indication that he wants to, but he knows that he doesn't want to play very, very long games. There's a tower coming in. This is visible for Edward Longshanks, but he's not reacting to that just yet. Here comes a galley immediately for Eddie, and he's gonna have the villagers walled in on the gold mine. No land units whatsoever. There's going to be a stable for Cobra Car, but the stable won't do much here because the villagers are walled in on the gold mine. They could start harassing the food eco eventually. That tower is actually pretty late from Edward Longshanks, but he's got 5 villagers building it. So I think it's actually going to catch up. You see, it's 30% versus 90, 95 now versus 50. I think both towers do go up. It's not going to be a great one for Edward Longshanks, but he can actually get this tower up, no problem. And then he's going to be able to take that tower down. And he's waiting for his galleys right now to start pushing the opponent's wood eco. Meanwhile, we'll have scouts coming in from Cobra Car. So it's a more conventional way of playing this. And we will have the galley pushing the villagers off from wood right now. The biggest problem that you're facing when you're using scouts here, if you're a Cobra Car, is that you can't directly engage these galleys in the middle. So we're gonna have walls coming in and the barracks as well, as the galley already pushes the villagers off from wood. There is no other wood line, by the way, for Cobra Car, so he's just building another lumber camp over here that actually hurts quite badly for him. Goes for the berries, but this is going to hurt his wood income, and now it seems like these villagers are also getting caught by the scout and the galleys. It's only 1 scout, but there is galleys supporting, so let's see if Eddie is actually going to be able to stop those villagers. So far, that's not really the case. We'll have a spearman, though, coming out. The really tricky thing about this map is that the outside is so open that the scouts can actually do a lot of damage. If you are unprepared for them. There's gonna be defensive spearmen, and it looks like we're gonna have an awful lot of villagers coming in for berries. So double bit axe for both players, no other upgrades. The nice thing about these houses here for a Khmer player is that he can jump into these houses with these villagers, which also helps quite a bit when it comes to saving those villagers from potential aggression, in case Edward, for example, starts making archers himself, which could definitely be a possibility. Gets housed for a moment, as we're gonna have a second dock here, so it looks like Edward is going very, very heavily on the water, and feels like he just wants to you know, protect his villagers against the scouts with spearmen and woes. Would be nice to see Cobra Car adding an archer range in this case, even a forward range right now. If he adds a forward range and adds 2 archers, Edward Longshanks could be in trouble, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Theoretically, Cobra Car could afford such a thing, although he's not on gold right now. But I think he needs archers or even skirmishers. Here comes the forward archer range, indeed. Because you at least want to pick off those spearmen so you can harass the berries and deny the food eco. There is a market coming in already for Eddie. As this gotta be Viper. The only player in this planet that would ever do such a thing is a Viper. Like, say whatever you want. I am like 95% sure that this is Viper. Hera would never go for such a game plan. Overall, the Portuguese pick on this map is somewhat out of the ordinary, but fish booming on this map, that is so Viper-like, and everything lines up for the snake over here. I'm like 80% sure this is the snake. We will have the villagers being pulled to take that tower down. You kind of have to do that, focusing down the skirmisher first, because you want to keep those spearmen alive. But I don't think this tower is actually going up. The play here is reasonable from Cobra Car. The problem is that those scouts will still die to the spearmen, or will they? Or will they? This is a bit of a disaster over here for Edward Longshanks, though. Like, this is the tricky thing on this map, balancing your outside spendings and your inside spendings. And I have to say that I am pleasantly surprised by the way this map plays out. So I didn't really like it when I just looking at it the first time in the map overview video, but I'm starting to like it. Because it is a very fine balance between spendings in the middle to push away your opponent from wood, and spending on the outside to potentially kill the opponent's starting eco. And here come the fishing ships. Obviously, it takes quite a lot of time to get that fish eco rolling. And you also shouldn't underestimate the fact that Edward Longshanks at 3 minutes of tea saddle time. He is getting wheelbarrow in, but even after getting wheelbarrow, he's gonna be like 3 villagers behind because of this. This is a lot of tea saddle time for a player like Viper, but it kind of makes sense. He doesn't have the food eco right now, so he's absolutely getting caught off guard by these skirms and scouts, and now he's off from gold. So Eddie is in a bit of a trouble over here, because yes, he's got the middle, congrats, but I feel like what Cobra Car needs is a defensive tower on this wood line. I'm always starting to feel that it is better to actually play land than play water, because yeah, with the water you can push away the opponent from the wood in the middle, but the water can never go out on the land, so they cannot pressure this outside wood eco. And even though the outside wood eco is quite inefficient compared to the one on the inside, you shouldn't underestimate the fact that, for example, Cobra Car's starting eco was never actually harassed. Cobra Car never lost a single villager, he's got an untouched food eco. Whereas if you take a look at Edward Longshanks, yes indeed you have the middle, that's great, but you also have to consider that on the outside you have been harassed so much that it forced 3 minutes of tea saddle time because you didn't have sufficient food income. Obviously, this fish boom would be something that is absolutely going to kick in the long run. And there is no way that Cobra Car can actually pressure this. So the best thing that Cobra Car can do is run around with the scouts and try to hit these villagers. But this is tricky, because Edward Longshanks has all his villagers in the middle soon. Now, the middle doesn't have any gold, so that's the trade-off that you're taking. That's one of the good parts of the map design here, that the middle doesn't have gold. If the middle had gold, all players would do is just transport all their villagers to the middle. And now we're going to have stables coming in as well for Edward Longshanks. I'm starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel for Eddie, because he hasn't been losing a lot of villagers. There was some idle time, sure, but he's going to compensate with his fishing eco, which cannot really be harassed. And we're gonna have scouts coming in, and those scouts will clean up the skirmishers pretty easily. Same for these other scouts. There is no barracks for Cobra Car because he's currently was playing with the scouts only. You see that there are some macro issues. There are some big macro issues here for Cobra Car. A lot of idle villagers here. This wood line is something that I wouldn't really call efficient. So whoever Cobra Car is, he isn't necessarily having a great macro. Now, that being said, this spearman actually pokes down a villager over here. That's the first villager casualty from Cobra Car's side. And now we're gonna have a tower coming in here in the middle from Eddie to secure a little bit for ground for himself, I assume. We'll have a tower in the dock coming up for Cobra Car, going for demo rafts, and that's something that you have to be careful about if you are Edward Longshanks. Eco now is even, but if you take a look at the food count, the food eco for Cobra Car was much more well developed in this game than his opponent's was, and that means that he's beating Eddie into Castle Age over here pretty nicely. Eventually, Edward Longshanks will catch up, so 7 fish trap actually is really helpful in that way, and it looks like we will have some sneaky Voyagers moving all the way to the far right for gold. That's the idea for Edward Longshanks. He wants to hide these Voyagers away from the opponent because he doesn't have gold access right now. Still, he's very far away from Castle Age here, and the problem that he's going to face is that there will be Knights coming out soon, plus if he's distracted, demos from this dock could actually cause a lot of damage. I think if you're Cobra Car, you actually consider waiting until War Galley hits if you go for it in Castle Age, but nope, that doesn't seem to be the case. Let's see if Edward Longshanks will react to this one. The demos could find Voyager kills over here, but it looks like Cobra Car is actually going the wrong way. Cobra Car is growing... What is he doing, man? Why? He could have gone for a Woodland and killed like 10 Voyagers. It didn't seem like his opponent actually had the option to react to that. Now he's going to send in the scouts. I mean, this is wide open. There is even an overchop. You can sink so many Voyagers, and now the scouts are running past. Here come the demos. One blast kills only 1 Voyager though, and the other blast kills 2 Voyagers. I feel like this was very, very underwhelming considering the density of the Voyagers over there in the middle. The idea was great, but come on, man, this could have actually killed like 10 Voyagers. With that, we still have a massive Castle Age lead for Cobra Car over here, going for double stable Knights. And now it seems like we're gonna have more galleys from Edward Longshanks. He knows exactly that he's gonna get pushed in the middle. And one thing that I was talking about in the map intro video is that I feel like you can wall off the middle so easily. And that's exactly what we're seeing for Edward Longshanks. This is walled off. He's going to wall off this side too. This is the only opening that he's gonna have to fix. But what are Knights going to do if your opponent is fully walled in the middle? This middle area is too well wallable, I believe. And here comes a demo, so a couple of units could also be sunk over there. Still, the Knights could actually pressure the outside food eco, but now Edward Longshanks is actually buying himself up to Castle Age. He's got a couple of scouts running around, which delays Cobra Car's Knights play because the Knights have to chase these scouts over here. And it looks like we're just gonna have War Galley upgrade from Longshanks once he gets into Castle Age. Here's a castle drop though from Cobra Car. Something that we didn't actually pay attention for is his stone count. And theoretically, Edward Longshanks can drop his own castle as well, but that's gonna be an annoying castle for Eddie. Fireships also burning their way through the walls. That's a nice decision, because if they do that, the Knights will be able to run inside, and as I said, on the other side there is a castle coming up. This is clearly visible for Edward Longshanks, so he knows exactly if castle is on the way, but he's got no means of stopping this right now. The best he can do is counter castle this once he gets into Castle Age, but that still is 1.5 minutes away. Fireships are now in. Demos actually do get some nice connections, but these are still fireships. This will be rewalled for now, but I mean the fireship is still alive, and it is causing further chaos in this one. Fireships actually kill fishing ships very easily. I feel like I like the position of Cobra Car a lot better here, with the castle being up, with the Knights running around and hitting the eco over here. The fishing eco isn't really giving a big enough boost for Edward Longshanks to compensate for 7 Voyagers lost on the outside. It's an interesting game plan, but it isn't really working out for Eddie right now. And he's getting punished for this one quite badly. You see that once again the fireships will be helpful at opening up the walls, so the Knights can run in. Castle Age is in for Edward Longshanks. He's still pretty much in this game. Eco is pretty much even for both players. But what is Eddie going to do now? He could try dropping the castle somewhere around over here, but I'm not sure how much that would help, as we will have once again quick wars coming in from Edward Longshanks. He doesn't really have a lot of places to go to be honest though. Like, he's so cornered in here, and I'm really unsure what he's exactly going to do. He's making demos. Fireships actually getting through over here. There was a hole, it was hard to spot. Still galleys, only gill nets even. This is so awkward from Edward Longshanks. He's prioritizing gill nets, and Boso, but I still don't know what he's going to do military-wise to prevent those knights from killing him. I feel like Eddie seems so dead here, or at least he's supposed to be dead. And I'm really unsure what he's actually planning here. A petard! A petard is coming in here from Cobra Car. And now the knights actually gets through. Ballista Elephant even. Cobra Car is actually going for all defensive units out here. Not just knights, but also goes for Ballista Elephants, goes for petards. Petards actually make sense over here to get through the walls really quickly. And unless there is actual demos coming in here for Edward Longshanks, he's Omega dead. Because he has to run from the middle to the outside, congrats, but reality is that the outside is actually much easier for Cobra Car to raid because he actually has knights. So now the fishing eco could go down, fire ships still out, but I feel like this game is over. Edward Longshanks scores the GG, and I'm a little bit torn here. Because this play from Edward Longshanks, the Portuguese on this map with the fish boom in the middle, feels very Viper-like. But this wasn't really a great game from Edward Longshanks here, and he loses his best civilization for islands. That's what hurts him even more. So, if you take a look at this game, I think all the ecos, I think, are kind of telling the story. The food count for Cobra Car especially. It was a consistent food income throughout the game from the Khmer farming, as opposed to a very wacky food eco overall. You see that the castlage times were massively different. It's like 28:30 versus 25:30. So there was like a 3 minutes castlage difference. Actually, even 4 minutes. It was 24:30. So really, the KD was fairly close, but it is about the eco right now. 2,000 extra resources at this stage, 1k extra gold, 1k extra food, a little bit more wood for Edward Longshanks, but it doesn't compensate for those resources missing. And really, the food and gold can't matter so much because of castlage. The early knights were the ones that pretty much finished off the game here for Cobra Car. And I'm still gonna go bold, but I have a feeling that Edward Longshanks, regardless of the performance of this strategy, is still a likely candidate to be Viper. I'm not 100% sure anymore because I expected a little bit more from Viper in such a game, but it was definitely interesting to take a look at this. And he's going to lose Portuguese, which was his ideal island civilization. Other side, Cobra Car is going to lose Khmer. And we are going to have the first home map of Edward Longshanks coming in here, which could be islands. Islands and high tides. Those are maps that Viper would probably pick himself. So I don't think that actually goes against my theory. But what is going to be the civilization matchup over here? Is it going to be something like Mongols from Cobra Car for a super aggressive play, maybe even a landing? Or maybe Malay versus, I guess, Koreans. Like, Japanese could work, Koreans could work, Byzantines could work. The thing is that I like Japanese more on high tides. I like Byzantines more on Bay. So this is why I'm saying that it kind of has to be Koreans. That being said, Malians works reasonably on high tides, and that would leave Japanese for this map and just leave Koreans out of the party as it is. We do have game number 3 available, so we will get going with that. So let me jump out of this, and we will go into game number 3 over here on the first home map of Edward Longshanks, which is islands. Indeed, we're going to have a Cobra Car playing in blue Malay. No surprise about that. Other side is going to be Japanese for Edward Longshanks, which means that he's leaving Malians for high tide. I think that makes some sense. Japanese is a good civilization for islands. It's a little bit underrated. And it's also somewhat unconventional civ matchup that we're seeing on islands. Usually it's Italians versus Portuguese. Japanese versus Malay might be the first time we're seeing this matchup overall on islands. So with that, we're going to have early deer push coming in here for Edward Longshanks. His island is very bulky, but most of the wood lines are on the outside. So technically this is supposed to be a good map for him, but this gold mine can be denied by galleons. Most of the wood lines can be denied by warships, with the exception of very few wood lines. Stones are alright, so it's still a reasonable map for him, but I'm not necessarily a big fan. Interesting lumber camp spot, but it makes some sense. It actually covers 2 wood lines. Other side, there's this little peninsula for Cobra Car's map, which I think is very unfortunate for him. This wood line is going to be easily deniable, same for this one potentially, and this is just screaming for a landing from this side. So this peninsula is going to be dangerous for Cobra Car. This gold mine is alright, the stone mine is quite bad over here. Other stone mine is alright, and this gold is pretty bad. Overall, I feel like the two players have relatively comparable maps, but I probably like Edward Longshanks' map a little bit better in this one. And it also looks like they actually balanced. I like this. I like this change. This is something I was saying throughout the qualifiers, that it was, I think, one gold deposit on one island, and then gold, stone, and relics on the other. And I said that I think the perfect balance would be achieved if you would have one island with the gold and the relic, and the other with gold and stone. I am fairly certain that this was changed compared to the qualifiers, and it's a good change. I think this is the way that you can balance the 2 neutral islands, so both of them are important for different reasons. So, we're gonna have the 4th Voyager coming in here, no surprise about that, no boilers just yet from either side. And we only have 3 Voyagers weakening that bore from the TC. Doesn't really change a lot. And now that I think about it, Edward Longshanks is his first home map as Islands. Hera would never pick such a map. So I am once again leaning a little bit more towards Viper in this case. Taro could be a sneak candidate as well. We'll see if he's going for that, but I feel like my money right now is on Viper for Edward Longshanks. With that, there is the first board coming in here for a Cobra Car. Let's see if he's actually using DC to weaken the board. That's gonna be an interesting decision, because I feel like Cobra Car is actually Bars, and Bars would not use the TC to weaken the board. And the macro issues, the somewhat sloppy decision making also makes me feel like it is likely to be Bars. Right now, I am fairly certain Cobra Car is Bars. It's possible that Viper is Edward Longshanks, but there is no guarantees. Anyways, standard front dock play over here from Japanese. Obviously, with strong Japanese fishing ships, you can definitely afford to go for a front dock. And it seems like we might have a galley rush mirror gameplay over here. We'll have the second board just now coming in for Cobra Car. It is worth noting that Cobra Car's relics are actually very deep inside his islands, which means that how is the deer being pushed from that direction? That deer definitely doesn't want to cooperate. So you could ask the question why you're pushing in deer here, and there is multiple reasons to pushing in deer on islands. First of all, there's nothing better to do with your scout. Number 2, you could technically take sheep, and it's not necessarily about actually speeding up your fuselage time. I think the biggest thing when it comes to deer push on islands is keeping your sheep alive. Because when you get into fuselage and you play the fire galleys, you want to make sure that your sheep, you still have a lot of sheep. Because eventually, when you have to transition your food eco, it helps a lot that you still have a lot of extra sheep and you don't have to send 20 villagers to berries. Now, here is the tricky part. This is a transport ship. This is a transport ship, ladies and gentlemen, from our red player. I like this decision. I don't like when players are trying to land with civs like Celts or Teutons or whatsoever, because those are always predictable. But a landing with Japanese makes quite a lot of sense, because you don't necessarily expect Japanese to go for landing, but it's not either impossible. Now, as I said, this peninsula could be very problematic for landing. Speaking of that, Edward Longshanks doesn't have a good idea about the opponent's island, but he sees the 2 neutral islands, and usually your opponent's dock is somewhere around over here, close to the neutral island, so that's why he's heading this way. And he is making the barracks back at home. It's gonna be an archer range landing. I like this quite a bit from Edward Longshanks. This is very un-Viper-like, but you also have to consider, based on the first game, that I think he knows whoever Edward Longshanks is, he knows that he probably has the upper hand in this series based on the Arabia game. So he might not reveal all of his strategies, and going for a landing like this can still work out really nicely, because it seems like Cobra Car doesn't know about it, although Edward Longshanks will soon show his scout. So far, I'm just going to keep it on Cobra Car's POV to see when he's actually coming in. Now, he's going to get surprised that there's a landing, and oh boy, Cobra Car went for a greedy up. Or, yeah, he went for a greedy feudal age, he didn't go for loom, and I have seen people asking, why do you go for loom on islands? This is why. Because you can never actually count out a landing from your opponent, and he's actually lucky that this landing didn't come a little earlier, or that he was melee and he reached feudal age fast, because otherwise he would have been still going up to the next age when these scouts were actually hitting him. Now, nice reactions from Cobra Car over here. The walls will be up in a matter of moments. There is still an opening here. I feel like he should indeed have waited a little bit, but that's a sloppy move from Cobra Car. Nice quick walls though from him. I have to say that if this is bars, those quick walls were very, very nice. Now the fire galleys are actually able to push the fishing eco of our Japanese player over here, and I think the big deal here is that the reason why I picked Japanese for this one is because Japanese fishing ships survive a lot more punishment, so it's much harder for your opponent to just punish you with the fire galleys, and we might see the fishing ships being either sent back home here for a dock, or alternative would be to make a dock in this corner and just go fishing over here. Oh, sneaky tower coming in here for Edward Longshanks, as his opponent is also gonna go for a range. There is a range already up by Eddie, and we are gonna have this gold mine and this wood line being that. That's going to be a very, very nice tower over there from Edward Longshanks. He's making fire galleys right now. His fishing eco has been pushed, but he managed to save the majority of his fishing ships for the time being. So the tower is up indeed, counter tower coming in right now, but I'm not sure if that counter tower is actually going up. If you garrison the 2 archers that you have and the 2 villagers inside this tower, I don't think this tower actually goes up for Cobra Car, because the archers give you a lot of firepower, although it seems like Cobra Car is gonna get that tower up. Range is also up for Cobra Car here. Villager counts are dead even currently, but it seems like Cobra Car is securing the water control for himself. And Cobra Car, for him, he still has the option to go for this gold mine. So his gold mines are nicely split. Same for the stone mine, so he can actually start mining stone to make another defensive tower. Let's see if this villager actually buys the dust, because it seems like she will. That's gonna be the first villager kill. Actually, the second villager kill already by Edward Longshanks. He killed one villager over here on the coastline, I believe. Yeah, indeed. Red seems to be too aggressive to be Vivid or for Viper. That's what I was thinking about as well. I just don't know who else would pick Portuguese for a fish trap play on Mudflow. And as I said, it's very, very possible that Viper is just trying to hide his real strategies here. The good old-fashioned transport the units around play with the transport ship, and the fire galley will actually... Oh, the fire galley didn't see it. The fire galley didn't see the transport. That's so unlucky. He could have actually killed that transport ship. And the landing is going to occur on the other gold mine. Edward Longshanks actually knows about this one, and he also has a big fish boom at the back as well. Even though it's a little bit sloppy that he's taking the shore fish with the fishing ships, but he's also building up a crazy fish boom here. 14 on food for him already. Lands with the archers. And I think the only way I can imagine, if this is Viper, if he knows exactly he is up against a very weak player, or not very weak, but weak in contrast to the other competition player. Because against a stronger player, Viper would probably not play like this. But if he knows that he's up against a weaker player and he's confident he would win it anyways, and he played relatively standard in... in the Arabia game, if he knows he's up against a weaker opponent, I can see him trying to go for some less predictable strategies to make sure that he can conceal his actual game plan for later rounds. Hiding strategy isn't the thing though, because the games played before they're published. Yeah, that's true, but you also have to consider that for someone that is aspiring to play in the finals, for example, you also have to consider that, right? Also, you remember that Edward Longshanks was the one that was joking around, well, not really joking around, but he was saying I am very lag or something like that in the first game. I don't think, like, there is a couple of players that I wouldn't actually assume that would be potentially trying to fake that they don't speak English. I think that the fake English that we have seen in the first game is something that is also a little bit Viper-like. Another Voyager goes down that should have been avoided by Cobra Car, and we have to keep in mind that overall 5 Voyagers were already killed by Edward Longshanks, and he didn't lose a single one, and this includes fishing ships as well. So the Japanese fishing ship staying alive is a huge thing, and one thing that I would like to credit Edward Longshanks for, as we have a counter landing coming in here which could catch Eddie off guard, is that he keeps adding fire galleys, which actually forces Cobra Car to fight here, so Cobra Car cannot find this fishing eco. It looks like Edward Longshanks is actually getting close to clicking up to Castle Age over here, for now doing some additional harassment on this gold mine. But as I said, he's not gonna have the tools to stop these archers, and these archers could actually cause a lot of chaos. I'm no longer convinced about Viper for Edward Longshanks, but it's not impossible, it's him. Like, I know that people would be saying, hey, Viper wouldn't lose games like this, but are you sure? Are you 100% sure? We have seen Viper getting 4-0 by Mr. Yo, and even though the opponent is unlikely to be Mr. Yo, it's not impossible for Viper to lose games by any means. He's gonna have to scramble to protect his gold mine with the defensive tower. There is an overchop over there, and that's going to cause a lot of chaos. Villagers here are also somewhat weak, and I think that this tower might not even go up. Nice quick was over there from our red player to try and prevent the archers from getting beneath the tower, and now the tower goes up. And Cobra Car, buying a lot of food, probably thinking about Castle Age himself. Remember that even though Edward Longshanks has clicked up, he's up against Malay, so if Cobra Car clicks up soon, then he's going to be able to catch up, no problem. And literal Titanic could actually occur over here. 2 scouts and the 2 archers and the skirm transported through, and that is Titanic itself. Red actually did the right thing. He tried to ungarrison the units before the transport goes down, but that didn't really work out. Still, he's gonna have a stable on the opponent's island, which means he can actually go for some knights. Meanwhile, though, Cobra Car is actually pushing the eco of the opponent very, very nicely. So he picked off a couple of Voyagers on the farms. Over here now, the Villager KD is 6-4. Voyager count is still pretty close, as Cobra Car is going to pick up to Castle Age. He's going to be like 30 seconds behind or so. And indeed, here it comes. So let's see, that's going to be like 1:30 to go up. So he's going to be like 1 minute behind. Indeed, 1:10 behind. The archers is still around here. And that could mean another dead Voyager for Edward Longshanks. So really nice counterattacks, I have to say, by Cobra Car. Picks off another one. And one thing I like about Cobra Car is that he also realized that, okay, I have water, I can just fish boom. And that's exactly what we're seeing over here from him. So even though there is a nice fish boom at the back from Edward Longshanks, we also have Cobra Car with the fish. And it looks like we're going to have more archers being transported as well. Scaleboarding as well makes me wonder if we're going to see a couple of knights over here from Cobra Car. It's probably going to be a siege workshop as well, and he will even go for a crossbow upgrade, but scaleboarding is definitely an interesting decision here, unless he wants to go for a stable. Castle Age is in front of the Longshanks, goes for Vorgalley upgrade, brings in the fire ships to push the middle for now, and there is the stable indeed for Cobra Car. Behind this one, we're gonna have a Castle Age for Cobra Car as well. On his island, he's not really getting pushed though. And I'm feeling like this counter landing from Cobra Car is actually potentially more devastating than the landing that Edward Longshanks had, given that that stable actually goes up. It's only 1 Voyager, so it could be denied by 1 skirmisher, and the archers have to run around because they need to make sure that they get the upgrades before they actually take this fight. So now they have crossbow Botkin, so they could definitely take this fight, especially without skirmishers or without armor on the skirmishers. And with that, it looks like the crossbows might just try to dive in on the Voyagers. Now skirmishers trying to chase. Crossbows will finish off these skirms. Behind this one, Cobra Car actually gets that stable up. He got the stable up, and that's a very, very important part of this one. Because now he can actually start making a couple of knights to deal with the skirmishers. And while Edward Longshanks' landing is pretty much gone over here, and there is no knights whatsoever pushing, Cobra Car's landing is actually becoming more and more a factor, and I'm also losing my confidence Edward Longshanks being Viper. Because I feel like Viper wouldn't underperform this much. I mean, I can see one game going bad for him, like the Mudflow game. But I feel like these last two games were very, very disappointing so far from our red player. So, yeah, indeed, it feels... this defense feels sloppy. Too sloppy from Cobra Car, so to say. Or from Edward Longshanks. Now that there's knights running around, there is a monk coming in here to get a conversion. And you also have Japanese spearmen or pikemen coming in. Nice quick walls from Eddie in this one. The quick walls actually are very reminiscent of Viper, though. That's why I'm looking at this. The quick walls, the unit control oftentimes is so good for Viper, or like Edward Longshanks, that I would dare to say that it's Viper. It's just the way that the overall game shapes out that is interesting and weird. 6 Voyages lead right now for Cobra Car. He is on 2 TCs. We'll have 3 TCs coming in here for Eddie, who still has a reasonable fishing eco, but soon have to replace that dock with the one over here in this corner. There is still going to be some knights coming in, but monks should have no trouble stopping this one. And it looks like this transport with 2 crossbows is just going to be idle. Edward feels like a player who wants to pretend to be Viper. I don't think so. You can't pretend to be Viper with the quick walls. It's hard. There is a demo coming in here, and this demo snipe could be huge. If it actually connects with the fishing ship, that could be enormous. Or you just... like, things like this is not something that Viper would do. Allowing a demo to run into a dock like that, that's a disaster. So, really, we're gonna have 3 TCs over here, and now finally the fishing ships are actually found, and we are gonna have Cobra Car pushing in here with the fire ships, and that means that Edward Longshanks could be losing his fishing eco. So we are gonna have basically no operational fishing eco for Edward Longshanks, and it is also going to be... this landing is gone. This landing is pretty much gone, although it would be nice if these buildings would be walled in to prevent any kind of aggression. But yeah, you are actually starting to be more and more right about that, I feel like. And thinking about this way, would Viper really go for Portuguese fish boom on that map? If you just think about that, probably not, because that pretty much tells everybody that it is Viper. It would be very, very surprising if Viper was the one. Indeed, it kind of starts feeling like this is someone that is trying to impersonate Viper over here, because even though there are some nice quick walls, the overall game plan isn't necessarily there, and it would be awkward if Viper actually showed his identity in the first game by doing something that only Viper would do. With that, there is a castle up here, and looking at the resources, Cobra Car isn't impossibly far away from going into Imperial, and it looks like for now Edward Longshanks is able to save his fishing eco. For now. Interesting is the fact that I think in the first game the defense was very, very nice from Edward Longshanks, so that's why I was convinced that it could be Viper, because his gameplay in the first one was actually very, very strong. There is a transport ship garrisoned inside for Edward Longshanks once again, so he wants a new transportation with all these knights and skirmishers, but it is doubtful if he has the map control for this one. There's a demo inside, a big demo lands, an enormous connection, and a huge mistake from Cobra Car. He didn't expect that demo to be there, and now all the knights and the skirmishers could potentially land. War Galley out there as well for Cobra Car. He doesn't really have an amazing fleet, and this game is just as messy as it could possibly be. The knights will actually do a landing here. This will be spotted without a question by Cobra Car, so he can react to this one. It is 3 knights, 2 skirmishers, not an amazing army currently. And so we'll have Imperial Age coming in soon though for Cobra Car. But we also have to think about one question. Who would actually pick Islands as his first home map to do a landing? That's the interesting thing about this one, that if this is not Viper, who on the earth this is? It's someone that is really trying to impersonate Viper, if it's not actually the Snake. But I am fairly certain that most of the people I know would not actually try to impersonate Viper and just, you know, play their best game, because it's always dangerous that you try to impersonate someone, because you probably just want to play your best game because it's for prize money. Why not Taro? I think I already have a guess for Taro in one of the previous sets. That's the main reason. I don't think it's Taro. It could be, but I would be somewhat surprised if he was. With that, the crossbow defense here is nice, and I feel like the biggest thing here is the imp advantage that Cobra Car is gonna have. Picks off one monk, picks off two monks, picks off a third one as well without any conversions out there. And as I said, I like this decision from Edward Longshanks walling this one in. And even though Edward Longshanks wasn't clicking up that much later, he's up against Malay, so he's gonna be 2.5 minutes behind in imp timing. And this is the time when Malay can actually start flooding out their war galleys and galleons. Maybe Vivi, honestly, Vivi wouldn't be an impossible choice. Here comes a castle on the middle island. That's something I really like from Edward Longshanks over here. So he understands the importance of the middle islands. That's definitely a good decision from him. Right now, war guy numbers are actually fairly even, but Imperial Age is already in for Cobra Car. He, I think, wants a castle on the other island now. Oh no. Oh no, Eddie, what are you doing, man? He's going to try and castle this same island and then quickly changes his mind. So the problem is that he's an Imperial, but he doesn't have the upgrades. Galleon is just coming in. No bracer, no chemistry. So, really, there is some sloppiness from both sides here, interestingly. As Vorgali will do a bit of harassment. Cobra Car is picking up relics right now. I think if you're Cobra Car, you want a castle here. He's floating 1500 stone. He's already making trebs, and he'll probably try to transport those trebs over here. Galleon is in, but no bracer, no chemistry, no careening, so really, whoever Cobra Car is, he isn't really prioritizing water upgrades, which I think to me is telling that he's not necessarily a clear water player. He's okay on water, but it's not like he's primarily a water player, so the more I look at it, the more I feel like Cobra Car is bars. Because everything seems to line up with bars for this one. The question is who exactly the opponent is, because I have absolutely no clue now. There is Galleon and Bracer, but why is no Bracer? Okay, finally it's coming in for Cobra Car, but you see the difference between the two players. And one thing is sure, the early castle here, the nice, like the fact that he's able to afford off the upgrades when reaching Imperial, tells me that Edward Longshanks is an experienced Islands player. So indeed, Dogao is not an impossible person to think about. So Galleon will be in for our red player as well. This castle is going to limit the movement of these ships over here. In fact, Cobra Car doesn't react to that right now, and he sails right into the castle fire. That's a disaster for Cobra Car. He's going to lose potentially 3 ships in the process, maybe even 4. So that castle was actually dealing quite a lot of damage to them. Here comes the castle though, trebs are coming in. You have to actually get that castle up first. Careening would be very, very nice right now for Cobra Car, because he needs the extra pierce armor on those ships, and he also needs the transport, like the amount of spots in the transport. 14 ships only against 19, and I feel like, as I said, now we're seeing that Edward Longshanks is just simply outplaying his opponent on water. So I mean, this castle isn't going up. That's 7 ships against 18. This castle isn't going up, and I feel like now you see that Edward Longshanks seems to be a much better player on water. And the thing is that Cobra Car's lack of usage of Imperial actually tells me that he's not really super experienced on water overall. Outplaying or outnumbering, both. It's partially outnumbering, but it's also about the fact that he went for the upgrades he needed in Imperial immediately. Cobra Car was in Imperial 2 minutes faster than his opponent, but he didn't get the upgrades. He wasn't prepared to get Galleon, Bracer, Chemistry, and potentially even Careening, whereas if you take a look at Edward Longshanks, right as he reached Imperial, he clicked Galleon, Bracer, Chemistry, and he's clicking the Careening upgrade right after. GG is scored by Cobra Car, and it is an interesting scenario. It is a very, very interesting scenario. I am like 70% convinced that Cobra Car is bars, but really my best guess Edward Longshanks could still be Viper, who is underperforming in certain parts of the game, because the follow-up after these landings was actually super, super clean. It could be Dogao even. I just don't know why Viper would go for a fish boom on Mudflow, because the thing is that that reveals his identity pretty much. With that, we will actually have a game advantage once again for Edward Longshanks, and this brings us to the second home map of Cobra Car, which is Bay, a map that actually has a tendency to drag out very, very long. And let's take a look at the civilizations remaining. I'm going to throw another name once again, and that is Winchester. And the more I look at it, it could make a lot of sense for Winch if you think about this. Winchester would potentially pick Islands as his home map, although you would assume that he picks Portuguese. Winchester likes to play Islands. If you have seen the qualifiers of the Salts players, they all liked Islands as their home map. So it seemed like Edward Longshanks could be that. As I said, in one of the practice games that Winchester has played, he used Byzantines on Bay. It's not impossible that someone else would use that civ as well, but that sort of is a bit of a clue towards Vinch. The early Portuguese pick could be something. And lastly, I feel like Winchester is someone that would pretty much... It's not impossible that Winchester actually wants to mess around with impersonating Viper by any means. So that is definitely a possibility. Anyways, we are going to the second home map of Cobra Car, which is gonna be Bay. And I guess this is the map where Cobra Car has two of the best civs on this map available, Mongols and Lithuanians. I think it's gonna be Mongols, because you could use a very, very good Lithuanian play on high tides if you get there. So I'm leaning towards Mongols a little bit over here. Although since it's match point, Cobra Car might decide that, okay, I need to get all the advantage that I can have, and Lithuanian Knights with the extra attack from relics actually can be something that is good enough to propel him to victory. Oftentimes when you feel like, okay, I'm in trouble, I need to have a very, very strong civilization and it's very, very strong play, you actually go for Lithuanians, because the Knights with the extra attack from the relics actually can snowball game very, very easily. So no game from Robo just yet, but I think for Bay we are going to see Byzantines versus I think it's going to be Mongols or Lithuanians. Well, I'm 100% sure it's Mongols or Lithuanians, but I think it's a coin flip between the two. I couldn't actually tell which of these civilizations have a higher chance of appearing. So yeah, so much for that. And with that, I think we are ready to jump into the next game once Robo posts it. So match point in the favor of Edward Longshanks, and we'll see if Cobra Car is able to rebound, or the Cobra Car is going to have the short story in Hidden Cup 4. There is two more round of 16 sets after this one, and tomorrow quarterfinals and Sunday semifinals and grand finals will be happening. And obviously, I want to mention that as well, that after Hidden Cup, in fact, next Thursday already, we have the next big tournament coming up, which is a 2v2 two pools that I'm actually hosting. So get ready for that. It's gonna be great. We're gonna have a lot of unconventional civ selections, and in general it's gonna be super, super fun with all the top teams. So it's definitely worth checking out once you have the time. So we have game number 4 coming in, and we will jump in there. So let's take a look at what we have. The map has to be Bay because you can't select the opponent's home map. Indeed, here we go. Edward Longshanks playing Byzantines over here versus Cobra Car choosing Lithuanians. The two civilizations with the buff on the skirmishers and the pikemen. That's gonna be an interesting one to take a look at. We will have Cobra Car on the right side and Edward Longshanks on the left. Looking at the base of Edward Longshanks, by the way, he's got a pretty decent map for how usually bait generates. He's got woodlands at the back, the gold at the back, and the berries is also nice. Relatively easy wall off coming in here. Interesting question. SR, comma, go. Maybe someone... I don't know if there's any keyboard where comma is close to Y. It might have been just a mistake. Maybe he didn't actually press the Y key. Doesn't really matter, to be honest. Anyways, so in terms of vulnerability, this map is definitely one of the better vulnerable ones. The stone always spawns at the front, so Byzantine spear and skirm forwards can be pretty devastating. In fact, we have seen quite a lot of that throughout the qualifiers. The map for Edward Longshanks, by the way, is also absolutely amazing. You have a gold mine at the back, berries at the back, and honestly, this stone mine is extremely good for this map. Look at this. He can go here, here, here. This is a super rare map generation for Edward Longshanks. Usually this map is a lot more open, so this is defendable enough for Edward Longshanks to be able to basically go for any kind of build, but I would think it's going to be a forward with Byzantines, and simultaneously you will be capitalizing on your option to go for a dock and fire ships. So the idea is that the Byzantine fire galleys will be stronger than general fire galleys. So you don't really need to match the opponent's fire ship numbers. You just have to be somewhat competitive on water, so to say. That being said, Edward Longshanks is missing out on 2 of his sheep right now, and he apparently is going to send out a Voyager without protection to dock here. You see that Cobra Car with Lithuanians, you go for the fast dock build over here, so he already has the dock up. And he's now looking for the opponent's Voyager to snipe, and it seems like he's going back. Yeah. Okay, now he's turning back. And this is a mistake from Edward Longshanks. This is a mistake that Viper would not do himself either. I am having more and more Winchester vibes, to be honest, for Eddie. As we are gonna have the Voyager coming in here for the dock. He needs to kind of wall himself in, although the right side is always going to be open here. So, with that, we already have the first bore in for Edward, and he also lands the first shot on the scout of his opponent. Second fishing ship just now coming in for a Cobra Car. He already brought in the first bore. Once again, a little bit unfortunate place to kill that bore at. Other side, we are gonna have Edward Longshanks chasing down that scout. Now landed 2 hits over here. And we will have the second board just now coming in for Eddie. Eddie also pushed in some deer. That's actually a nice decision. So the deer usually is pretty far out here, so it takes quite a lot of effort to push in the deer from all the way out here. But if you do it, it's gonna give you a nice little boost. So that's definitely a good decision. I like that quite a bit. Even 2 deer can help quite a bit, especially for a civ that has a weak eco, like Byzantines, for example. Eddie, however, not finding his sheeperino was in the corner, so he was kind of forced to push in some of the deer. And it looks like he's not even looking for it, so he probably has acknowledged that, hey, I got lamed. Or so. We got 3 fishing ships out for our blue player. Second one is just coming out for Edward Longshanks. Fuelage times should be slightly better for Cobra Car, obviously, because of Lithuanians. But the Byzantine player is going to have better fire galleys to work with. And the real question is if we are going to see the forward from our Byzantine player. Here comes Loom. Was there Loom even? Yes, there was Loom for Cobra Car. So, let's see. Fuelage on the way as well for Edward Longshanks. And seems like it is a standard galley rush. Second lumber camp coming in just now. And unless some of these Voyagers are sent to stone... Okay, that's a stone mine. That's a stone mine. It is gonna be a forward, most likely, from Edward Longshanks. He was sending out a Voyager and he will accidentally bump into his sheep. I am not sure if he actually knew about the sheep there. I don't think he did. It was more about, okay, that's dark area, I will scout at the Voyager, but he's gonna be lucky enough to bump in there and... Actually, no forward. Just standard fire galley play here. which can work out quite nicely, and honestly, with Byzantines, many would expect a forward, so Cobra Car could be one of those as well. And Byzantine fire galleys are just simply better, by a massive margin, by the way. So, 2 docks fire galleys from both players, Byzantines will clap. So, even though there is a 30 seconds deficit into Feudal Age, I don't think it's gonna matter a lot, and Byzantines is gonna have a nice advantage on water. From this, let's see what this Voyager is up to. This could be a 4th Voyager for something sneaky, or could be a 3rd dock, or just be a repair Voyager lurking around for now. So, with that, I mean, Edward Longshanks is still chasing the opponent's scout. He needs to be careful not to run into the TC fire though. Reacts nicely, as he's really trying to finish off that scout over here, wondering if there is actually going to be a sneak eventually from Edward Longshanks. I don't know how that account is actually listed for my rank, but that's not my account, so that's actually a wrong account link. I don't think I played enough 1v1s to actually be listed on AoE2.net though. Or at least I haven't played for quite a while, and you lose your rank once you stop playing for a while. So yeah, it's 2 fire galleys versus 2 fire galleys, but it's Byzantine fire ships, and they just absolutely melt, like in literal terms. The opponent's fire galleys here. It looks like we're gonna have a scout barbecue over here in a moment as well. Congratulations, welcome to the bottom of the sea here. And yeah, I don't know how Cobra Car is willing to win this one, but you're not gonna win against Byzantine fire galleys in just a straight up fire galley fight. And honestly, I really love the walls of Edward Longshanks. As I said, this is a very well defendable base for him. Woodland at the back is always nice. Gold mine being nice as well. Here comes another fire galley fight. Numbers are actually favoring Cobra Car, but with good repairs, and Edward Longshanks is definitely doing that, this is definitely winnable for him. And here comes a demo. With that demo, you either want to connect to 2 or 3 ships, or potentially sink the repair Voyager. Nice connection there. That was a beautiful demo hit from Cobra Car. Just what you needed, and that's sort of a disaster fight for Edward Longshanks over there. Lost a fire ship, one of them is very, very damaged, and he's already bringing back another one for repairs. Demo coming in though, lands a reasonable connection, and that fire galley surviving at 2 HP is gonna be important, because repairing is always an important factor here. Here comes another demo, and this is the time where you try to kill the repair Voyager. You try to kill the repair Voyager, demo not finding any connections just yet. You have to keep in mind that there is more fishing ships working for Cobra Car right now, and you don't demo snipe the fish like that. That was a very, very bad demo from Cobra Car. Same thing for this one. Still, he's winning the water right now, so that's something to point out. In fact, his opponent is down to 2 fire galleys, gets a 3rd one out right now. You have to keep in mind that Edward Longshanks has lost his fishing eco on the water, whereas his opponent still has 2 fishing ships working for him. And that may not seem like it's much, but it actually is. So, 2 extra fishing ships for like 3-4 minutes, and you see that food count difference between the 2. That being said, now the fishing ships will die here as well, and as I said, I feel like Edward Longshanks will be able to reclaim the water for himself without any significant problems. He's still adding fire ships for now. It looks like he's going to be fully walled, and he's already starting to add a range for what could be an archer push. Cobra Car is fully focusing on water right now, so no barracks, no range just yet. Boom. Goes down the fire ship, and at the end of the day, Edward Longshanks is the only player that's gonna have a fishing ship on this spawn, most likely, although this guy is still fishing over here. Apparently Edward Longshanks isn't really caring about that. So we will have 2 walls for Edward Longshanks, even though this is technically open, but it's too risky to move through there. And you see that the barracks is already coming up for Cobra Car. Knowing that he lost water, or at least very likely lost water, he's going to start working toward pushing on land. But his opponent is already 1 step ahead in that aspect as well. Still, the food eco is actually slightly better for Cobra Car. You see that he's got a couple of farms out. He's got Bilax, no horse color right now. His opponent has less Voyagers on berries. That's the main difference between the food income. But that seems like a fairly reasonable castle age time for Cobra Car, as a demo comes in here trying to snipe fishing ships. It's a 1 HP demo, and at this point you actually try to kill 1 fishing ship with it. 1 HP demo needs to connect to anything basically before it gets destroyed. Is Ed over-investing on water? A little bit. I would think that you want to go up to something like 4 or 5 fire galleys, because The thing is that if you stay on 2 fire galleys, your opponent might just go for 3 fire galleys and take water back. Once you have like 5 on water, it's not really worth for Cobra Car to keep investing into water. So I would be tempted to say that you go up to 4 or 5, and there is still a lot of fish here. It's more likely that now that he has water, he needs to start adding fishing ships. So I don't think that he's over-investing, but now he needs to start actually benefiting from water, because he's behind in eco quite considerably, and there's gonna be knights eventually. Now I like that he's slowly massing archers. He doesn't need to rush anything. He's fully walled. As another demo comes in here, nice move from the fire ships to finish that one off, and as can be seen, the docks will go down over here. Another demo comes in here, but best case scenario, to be honest, is to take down 1 fishing ship with them, and that's not really efficient. Yeah, like, this is not actually resource efficient. I mean, it lowers the amount of fishing ship that Edward has, but reality is that it's still easier to replenish the fishing ship than it is to replenish those demos, especially if you lose some of them like that. Force Killer coming in for Cobra Car, so he's transitioning to a land-based deco. He's still gonna have a pretty considerable lead into Castle Age, around 1.5 to 1:45 minutes. So we are apparently having a villager coming in here already for what is probably gonna be a siege workshop. I wonder if Eddie sees that. Eddie sees that. Why does he see that? It is because of Byzantines. Byzantines have free town watch, and that actually helps Eddie over here a lot, because he knows exactly that villager is over there. If it wasn't for free town watch, I don't think that he would have spotted that. And that means that this 4th villager is going to die. You either send a new one, or your siege workshop is going to be delayed. And there is also quite a lot of archers on the field. There is no defense upgrades, by the way, for knights. There's a couple of scouts on the field, but those knights will be completely unupgraded. No bloodlines, no defense upgrades. So yeah, congrats, you're gonna be up in Castle Age with knights, but those knights will be absolute junk. Whereas your opponent is gonna have around 10 to 12 crossbows, probably a couple of camos as well with Byzantines. We'll have a second layer of walls in case the knights try to run past over here. And we apparently will have a second TC and the defensive siege workshop. 3rd TC even for Cobra Car. He's gonna go for big booming over here. But Byzantines is always dangerous to boom against, because Byzantines, if they sense that you're just booming, they can just go for an early Imperial Age, drop a castle, start pushing with traps, or just go arbalest bombard cannons. So it's always risky to go full boom against Byzantines, because they can punish you with an early imp very, very easily. Absolute disaster from Edward Longshanks over there in terms of walling. Not really going to change a lot, because those scouts are, as I said, completely unupgraded, but still, things like this is not something that you want to see in a $70,000 tournament. Nice quick call over there from Eddie. Still, the water is now completely under the control of Edward Longshanks. I don't know why he's making a demo raft, but it probably is just to trap an army here. I like this, to be honest. He's got a demo in here, and it might not be necessary, but in case there's like a bigger horde of knights coming this way, you can actually sink them with those. I don't think that you want to trigger one demo for the sake of a single knight. You see that these fire ships are already doing quite a lot of damage. Reducing that knight to 50% HP. Second TC coming in here alongside the monastery. Camos, crossbows will be added, but no bodkin as of yet. And it looks like we're gonna have monastery. I think against Lithuanians you have to be super aggressive with Byzantines, so you can't afford to let your opponent collect those relics. Apparently the scout is still running around inside, but the knight is gonna go down. And I feel like this is a moment where Eddie's gonna have to start moving out, start picking up the relics, starting with, I would say, this one or this one. I don't think that you can actually take away this one from your opponent. This one should be yours. Same for this one. So you prioritize this one or this one over here to make sure that you're able to deny as many relics from the opponent as possible. Here comes the monastery. No monk just yet. I guess crossbow camo should work against Lithuanians. Not entirely, because you don't really have a great answer to skirmishers. But crossbow camo and siege indeed is tough to deal with Lithuanians. I think if it's supported by mangonels, then crossbow camo works nicely. Yes, indeed. So I would love to see a monk coming out. There is a monastery out, but there is no monks coming in, probably because of the lack of gold right now for Edward Longshanks. But look at this. It's a 700 score lead, interestingly. He's behind by 5 villagers, but eco upgrade wise, he's there. He's got the fishing eco working for him. It's not really a big fishing eco, but it's still something. And most importantly, he can just walk into the opponent's base with the crossbows without any problems. 3 Scorpions defending for Cobra Car over here. The first Monk is just coming in to get that relic dropped. You see that Cobra Car will try to avoid the crossbows right now. And we will have the relic being dropped off in the monastery. It's already the first relic. And still I don't see Edward Longshanks moving towards the relics himself, which is the easiest way to lose games against Lithuanians, not contesting the relics. So it looks like now what Edward Longshanks wants to do is just drop outposts everywhere, especially with free town watch. He's gonna have a great vision across the map. If you take a look at his vision, if he lands an outpost here and one over here, he's gonna see all this. And I guess the idea is that he wants to limit his opponent to one relic, like this one over here that's garrisoned. And he wants to make sure that his opponent isn't able to access the other 3. Now a Monk is coming in. There is still Knight roaming free here with 6 HP only. Scorpions moving out a tiny bit, and it looks like now we're gonna have a lot of Knights coming in here from Cobra Car, adding 3 stables, scale barding on the way as well. But going full Knights against Byzantine camos may not be the best of all ideas, to be honest. Nice move over there from Edward Longshanks, pushing up against this stable. And I like this decision from Cobra Car, camping down that relic with a Knight in case a Monk is going to walk there and pick it off. One conversion does occur here on the other side by Cobra Car, but these Scorpions are completely exposed. You can just send in the camels and finish them off. I wonder why Edward Longshanks isn't doing that, but that's a massive overextension with those Scorpions, so Eddie could have easily destroyed that. In the meanwhile though, we do have the forward siege workshop denied, and Edward still has to be really careful. He's got perfect vision across the map, you see that. So he knows exactly that his opponent can be on a maximum of 1 relic. As he dives in with a scout, tries to pick off a Monk. The Monk does have Sanctity, and there was a camel supporting, so that's not going to work out well. And there's quite a lot of Monks on the field now for Cobra Car, so just 3 camels won't change much over here. For now, it looks like we're gonna have Monks coming in as well for Edward Longshanks, not collecting relics though. I feel like he needs to prioritize relics as fast as possible. It looks like we'll have just a crossbow here. I just think that you can't wait forever with the relics. Even if you right now know that your opponent isn't picking them up because you see the map, and you can actually pick off Monks if they go that way, I feel like you can't just assume that those relics will be uncontested forever. So you gotta start moving up. Obviously he wants to take some good fights, and that's why he's bringing Monks to the front line first. The Knights do not have +2 defense, so the crossbows will actually be fairly reasonable against them. So will they be against the Monks. And it looks like we're gonna have a fight that is actually taken here by Cobra Car, but there was a conversion. There is still crossbows here with Botkin. Camels are also in here. I'm not sure if this is a good fight by any means for Cobra Car, because here are the camels. They're trying to take down the crossbows so the Monks can actually get the conversion on the camels. But this actually is a reasonable fight for Cobra Car. It's actually a very, very reasonable fight for Cobra Car, and he's not messing around. He doesn't want to wait until Imperial. He pulls like, what is that, 15, 20 villagers? To drop a castle in the face of the opponent. It could even be a little bit more aggressive, to be honest. You have the military lead by a fairly decisive margin, and this is what I was talking about, yoinking those relics. How did Edward Longshanks allow this relic to be stolen from here? That's unthinkable for me. And indeed that castle is gonna be even more on the front line, right on the stone of the opponent. And that is really bad for Edward Longshanks, because even if he gets into Imperial, he can't go for the defensive castle and Trebs or so. Still, at this point, Eddie could think about going for Imp and going Bombard Cannons against this one, but stopping this is going to be awfully hard. And you shouldn't underestimate the fact that now all the map control is in the hands of Edward Longshanks, and in the hands of Cobra Car, and that means that relics will be available for him. He's already picking up relic number 2, and all 3 of these can actually be picked up very, very easily. Here comes the castle. Stone mine is denied. I completely mixed up though. I didn't see Edward Longshanks clicking up to Imperial. That changes a lot of things, because now he can go Arbalest Bombard Cannon, and he just needs fast chemistry though. He's going for Bracer. That means he needs Rams though. I understand Bracer, but how do you kill that castle? That's my question. I feel like chemistry here would have made more sense. You would have actually increased your damage output for your crossbows at the same time. Obviously the range doesn't increase, but when it comes to Bracer and chemistry, in such power spike. It's more about damage output other than the range. And with chemistry, you would have been able to start taking out the castle with bombard cannons. There is a university, so there is no excuse for not having chemistry here. Interesting decision, and it's very risky because I think you should already be shelling that castle with bombard cannons. Now the knights will run past though, and it's a lot of Lithuanian knights with +3, +2. And Iron Casting is just in. I feel like this is not going to be enough for Longshanks here. He's not going to have the mobility, and we will have the knights just running into the eco and slaying all the villagers, and the Arbalists don't have the mobility to catch up with this one. If you take a look at the villager count, it is already a 98 to 78 lead, and that's going to grow even bigger. Obviously, Cobra Card kind of has to commit to this one in Castle Age, but he's doing so. He's pushing with Rams, he's pushing with the cavalry. The Arbalists will be a scary force against those cavalry still, because they only have +2 defense, and now those Arbs have Bracer and Chemistry. But, I mean, it's going to take some time until Edward Longshanks goes, or Arbalists, and you shouldn't underestimate the fact that I said that it's a 30 villagers lead now. Still, it's Imperial Age against Castle Age, and that's always a situation where you have to be careful. Nice move from Eddie to jump into the TC over here with the Arbalest to save them from the Knights. Monk is gonna get picked off. But while the Arbalests are busy here, the Rams are pushing up this side. Still, there is 23 Arbs now, and when Chemistry is in, I feel like just a couple of Bombard Cannons would actually start stabilizing the situation here. Edward Longshanks might not be completely dead, to be honest. But oh, there's more. There's a lot more Knights. It looks like Cobra Car is going to commit to this Castle Age push all in here, or they're going for fletching, which makes me feel like we're going to see the Lithuanian skirms here. We'll try to catch those Arbalests off guard on the field. Normally, I'm not a big fan of Knights versus Arbalests, but these Knights do have +4 now, and they actually get a very, very nice round on the Arbs. We'll finish them off. How long can you sustain a Castle Age push against Imperial Age? That's the real question here. I think if you're Cobra Car, you also want to go for the relics really fast here. One monk was picked off by, I think, what was a leftover crossbow from here, but you can go for the other relics, and you need all that attack upgrade that you can get. There is Spearman out already. That's something that Cobra Car is going to see, so he can react to this one. And I feel like it's about the pressure in the face of the opponent. Another castle is going to come in here. There's going to be another castle here to deny this gold mine, limit the opponent's movement, and potentially just limit the amount of things that you can do with these barracks, because if there's a castle right next to it, you don't just make Spearman, because the Spearman will die to the castle fire. So Rams taking down the ranges. This very, very heavy Castle Age push is a full all-in commitment, but it works out for Cobra Car. He's behind in score a little bit, but I feel like he's actually winning this game. Because look at his opponent, he's 10 on food. It's not like Halberdiers is a thing right now for Edward Longshanks. He's soon going to struggle for gold. You see that he's running out of this gold mine over here. He's going to get denied from this gold mine, and he's behind by 30 villagers. There's just more and more knights coming in, and the knight could now run into the eco here once again. His opponent is just absolutely cornered in here, and there is no really answer from Edward Longshanks against those Rams. There's a Mangonel here that actually slows this push down, but I mean, look at this absolute carnage. Knights left, knights right, and they just keep killing villagers. It's 10+4, the relic is also coming in here from this side, I believe, so it's going to be 10+5 now. This is going to work well, and as I said, one of the reasons why you pick Lithuanians in a decider game is because you feel like you want to harness the power of Lithuanian knights, and that's exactly what we're seeing over here. They will bump into this gate, and they might even get trapped, as it appears that Edward Longshanks was able to break out, trying to place another gate behind. Arbalest will eventually clean this up, but it's not like this is the only knights push that's happening. And if you look at the resources, Cobra Call actually slowed down the pressure, and now he's thinking about imping himself, which is the right decision, I think, at this moment. Finally, a bombard cannon from Edward Longshanks to start taking down those castles, but I feel like if Cobra Car gets into Imperial, especially with Lithuanian lead skirms, he's gonna be able to finish off the game here. We might even see Paladins from him. You see that Cobra Car isn't necessarily a macro-based player. This wood line is very inefficient. The gold miners were idle for quite a while, so it wasn't perfect, but he's applying a lot of pressure, and he's also taking down the ranges. So the production of the opponent is also going to suffer a little bit. This castle will need to be repaired, though. I feel like you need those castles alive for a good forward position. Imperial Age coming in with Botkin Arrow as well, and it looks like all the cavalry is going to fall back home, surprisingly. For what reason? Apparently it's just a reassembly coming in here. We'll have an expansion coming out for Cobra Car as well. This is well known, by the way, by Longshanks, so he knows exactly these villagers are moving through here. So with that, we're gonna have this castle still under pressure. No repair villagers, well, other than one coming in here. So it kind of seems like this castle isn't going to survive for long. There is 2 bombard cannons shooting at it. There's a 3rd one just now coming in. I think this castle is gone. Still, there will be Cavalier coming in soon. This is an interesting decision to make for Cobra Car to take this fight, but I think he can actually afford to do that, because the benefit that he's getting from cleaning up this entire army is still greater than the amount of losses that he's going to sustain. Not an ideal fight with knights against fully upgraded Arbalest, but he's going to clean it up, and he's gonna have a massive eco lead still. Retains 15 knights over here, and oh, this is a nice move from Edward Longshanks, harassing those crossbows. And it's very interesting that the score is this heavily in the favor of Edward Longshanks, because I feel like the map position is way better for Cobra Car, and all he needs is Plate Barding and Cavalier. If he gets that, what is Edward Longshanks going to do against this one? There's a couple of pikemen on the field, but the pikemen have 0 upgrades on them. Not even a single attack or defense upgrade, so Cavalier will just clap them very, very easily. Same for Arbs, and there's already elite skirms coming in here, or soon to be elite skirms for Cobra Car. The other castle goes down. I feel like these are castles that could have been and should have been saved. Behind this one, there's already 3 relics for a Lithuanian player, and he could go for the 4th one very easily. I think he should. You want to maximize the efficiency of those knights. They will hit this part of the eco in a moment. I think they went for the gold mine, but there was no one there. And it seems like they're going to try and use the mobility, and in early to mid game, because the fights are mostly happening in this region, a slow civilization like Byzantines or Italians works well on this map. In post-imperial, mobility starts to become a factor once you have to start raiding on these positions, and the mobility of these Cavalier will actually be very, very useful in this case. So these are Cavalier with +5. Halberdier is just in for Edward Longshanks, so it helps a little bit. And it still is a bit scary for Cobra Car that he only has 3 ranges over here, and neither of them are really pumping out elite skirms. So he needs more ranges back at home, just to be sure. But behind this one, he's going to lose a lot of villagers. And he doesn't have any army that stops this one right now. All these villagers are dead. And this push could actually hit this wood line, which would be like 30 villagers dead. Still, elite skirms need some upgrades, so they're missing ballistics, they're missing defense upgrades, most importantly. They're missing chemistry, I believe. So these skirms aren't amazing, and you need a lot more skirms back at home for Cobra Car. But as I said, I feel like you can even jump these pikemen. These have +1 defense only, and these are Cavaliers with, come on man, +5, and soon gonna be +7, by the way. On them. Still, I feel like you don't want to directly engage this one for a sustained amount of time, so you probably want to do more like raiding with this. But this actually drags the entire army of Edward Longshanks back. Still, keeping an eye out on these Cavalier. They might be hitting this wood line. Indeed, there is 0 villagers on gold for Edward Longshanks, but if there is one save that can live without gold, that's Byzantines, the ultimate trash unit civilization. The problem is that they might just get out-trashed over here by the opponent's elite skirms, and once again, you can't afford to lose villagers in this huge quantities. This was like -15 villagers in 5 seconds, and Edward Longshanks is down to 98 villagers, with no persistent eco bonus for a civ like Byzantines that also hurts really badly, and there's Paladin. Since this map has a lot more extra gold, Paladin is definitely a viable upgrade over here, even though there isn't really a lot of Cavalier on the field right now. It's 25, and 10 of them on the left is actually fairly damaged, but I think there is already a next wave of Paladin being prepared. The only thing I would criticize here for Cobra Car is that he didn't actually go for... oh, he did! He actually picked up the relic to another monastery here, and he's gonna be on 4 now. Which means that those are fully maxed out Lithuanian Paladins in 1 minute and 50 seconds. This is still a scary push from Edward Longshanks, with Halberdiers and Arbalest and Bombard Cannons. So it's a the real question right now, if Edward Longshanks is able to finish this game off before the skirmisher numbers and Paladin numbers grow up high. Because one thing that we didn't look at is the military numbers, 97 to 41. The numbers are crazy over here. And oh boy, that's a good move from Edward Longshanks. That's a good move. He takes down the monastery and all that attack bonus is gone. And there is only 15 elite skirms on the field against what is 24 arbs and a lot of bombard cannons as well. Don't tell me that this is falling apart here. Don't tell me that this is falling apart. The Cavalier will engage, but they will only have a +1, actually maybe +2 from the monastery. No, it's only +1 because the Halberdiers killed that monk. Instead of +4, this is only +1 right now, and you see the disaster striking Cobra Car. It seemed so good for him, but now everything falls apart. He's down to 11 paladins without the attack upgrade, or not the upgrades, but without the attack buff from the relics. And there is siege to support this one for Edward Longshanks. I feel like Edward has this. What a game! What a game this was! It felt like it was over for a long time, and I feel like once again my theory for Edward being Winchester is strengthened by the fact that he's a big survivor. He didn't, you know, waver when the knights ran into his eco and killed so many villagers. He really was resilient and stayed in this game for a quite long time. It is 89 army against 18. So this castle going down, and really there's only one relic right now for the Lithuanian player, I mean, Cobra Car is trying to pick this one up, but two Halberdiers denying that one so well. Here comes the big paladin push though, and it looks like the numbers aren't here on the field for Edward, but still, it's Arbalest and Halberdiers now. This is not going to be cost efficient by any means for Cobra Car indeed. It looks like all the paladins are down. The bombard cannons were successfully sniped, so that's an advantage, but still, now it is 81 army against 12, and I just don't know where the rest of the army is. Indeed, now they're coming in. Look at this flood. This feels like watching gods right now. With Rams coming in, Halberdiers, Arbalests, and honestly, he could actually start mixing in some cavalry. He's going to drop a castle here on this monastery to prevent those relics from being used as well. And now it's Light Cav coming in from Cobra Car, but does he have anywhere to go? That's the next question, as we're gonna have Light Cav mixed in as well by Edward Longshanks. 3,000 score lead for him. Still, Cobra Car has a very big eco lead, but his position on the map is now much worse, and he's pretty much quartered within his own base now, as you see. He's still up against an army that's 4 times larger than his. So, look at this. Right in the moment the new monastery is constructed, Longshanks actually targets that immediately and tries to take it down. And just the flood of the cheap Byzantine Halberdiers is crazy. And Logistica. So we're actually going... Oh, okay, that was weird. It looks like we're gonna have heavy camo, because Longshanks is still afraid of the paladins here, so he's gonna go for heavy camo. Makes some sense. For a moment he actually queued up Logistica, which would buff the Cataphracts, and Cataphracts would be alright against the skirmishers, but they're not actually good against the paladins, so Cataphracts don't really make that much of a sense here. Heavy camos do. 91 villagers only for Edward Longshanks though, so he's losing villagers left and right. I have to add this with this what appears to be sort of a doubt castle. And now the skirmisher numbers are great for Cobra Car. So hold on, I might have spoken too soon, because one thing that Cobra Car still has going for him is the villager count. And if you look at the populations, they're very close still. These skirmishers do not have tower shields right now because the castles of Cobra Car went down by the time he gets to Imperial. So he doesn't have the tower shields upgrade from Imperial Age. Now it's heavy camos coming in, but heavy camos are okay against the elite skirms. And with this, I feel like now this is falling apart for Cobra Car, because he's still up against 78 army with just 25 on the field. Just look at this flood of cheap camos, Halberdiers, Arbalests here. And as I said, the camos are actually working okay against the skirmishers. They soak up the arrow fire, they force them back, they're also good against the paladins. These paladins have 0 bonus from the relics right now, because 3 of the relics are ungarrisoned here, and 1 over here as well. And with that, after a situation where it seemed like Cobra Car is going to edge out a victory over here, Edward Longshanks strikes back and takes the victory over here. What a turnaround, because this was sort of a comeback for Edward Longshanks in this game. We haven't learned a lot about the identity of the players, to be honest. In fact, I'm still a little bit lost with these, but we'll have more to see from Edward Longshanks. Cobra Car is going to leave with Mongols. I am about 50-60% sure, oops, that Cobra car was bars. So yeah, that is somewhat likely. I'm going to write in my notes. Whereas on the other side, Edward Longshanks maybe winch, but it's really hard. It could be Vinch, it could be Viper, it could be someone else. But I guess we'll be able to see more of this guy in the upcoming round. So Edward Longshanks takes the victory over here, wins with Byzantines against the Lithuanians, and he's gonna be the one getting into the next round of the tournament.